Now, interestingly, what is happening in the industry, and I think you've got a lot of perspective since morning in terms of, how investments work and how startups need to be done. But what is most interesting is today that, Rana, who is a celebrity, who's an actor, as well as an entrepreneur who's been seeing potential of working with startups and working with consumer brands in India, as well as an interesting story of the new launch that he's made we'll just get to. But, he was, and I have been interacting with Rana for, I think, over 7 or 8 years, yes, maybe, where we've spoken to each other, and I've seen his launches happening. He's always had this keen eye to be able to launch and see what is the potential of a brand and where it can really, as a startup, where it is and where it can go to. So I think with your help, we've seen so many Indian brands in the consumer space, which they have grown and how they have sort of multiplied themselves over the years. So thank you for giving this service to the startup industry and helping them grow. And, as an entrepreneur, I think we all discover when we launch new products, when we do collaborations. So I think you were the first one in the industry, I think, whether it was... And I would say, honestly, even Bollywood has taken a cue from you over there and, done a lot of new launches in our time. So Rana, let me start by asking you this. What got you interested in the startup space and the entrepreneurship space early on? Where did you find your calling and how did you start making investments?
Firstly, thank you for having me here. Hello, guys. Good evening. So startup, I'm from the movies and everything that we do is a startup.
Correct.
Every time we tell a story, we have a group of lovely creative people come together. We tell a story, it works, doesn't work. We have to go back to doing something altogether very differently. So the idea of startups and storytelling somewhere is very similar.
Okay.
And I think about 6 years ago when we started a talent agency and a brand agency together because we understood the skill set was similar in terms of telling stories. And once I realized that's something that all brands require. There are people in India that make terrific product. They understand very, very deep nuances of what their consumer needs are. But they have a difficulty finding that story to tell or a story to connect with the audience. And I think that was something that I could be of service to. And investing-wise, I started investing with everything that could make cinema and storytelling better. So it started with visual effects, which led me into tech, which then led me into building advertising for that tech, and then so on and so forth. So I think it wasn't strategic, but it was organic, the way I kept moving into one and the other.
Yeah, I think that's... and what a fantastic journey it's been,
Yes, it's been a lot of fun so far, yes.
So, today we are also going to talk about his newest venture, which is actually Loka Loka. So both he and Harsha, they are both co-founders in it. Now, what is interesting about it is that Loka Loka is a tequila brand made in Mexico, made by Indian entrepreneurs and launched in the US, not in India. So you cannot drink Loka Loka
India yet.
tequila in India yet. So now, I have seen examples of Indian brands going global, starting in India, going to UAE, maybe then to UK, and then to probably US or other markets. But, this was one situation where we came across that, 2 Indian entrepreneurs actually decided to build a product outside India and also launch it outside India. So, why Loka Loka? I mean, what got it going for both of you, where you believe that, tequila as a brand, first of all, tequila as a liquor, we Indians are more, हमें अपनी whiskey और beer दोनों पसंद है. And, but at the same time, you thought of US as a market to make your first launch.
So I think the idea of globalization is changed where you are from, what you do, and I think I come from cinema as a background. When we make a story, it doesn't matter where in the country we shoot it or where in the world we make it from. Yeah. We show wherever the audience is. And just to give you an example of how we measure growth through cinema and art is with the growing market globally. Just to give you an example, I'm from the Telugu film industry. say 10 years ago, we had a market size of $200,000 to $1 million is what a film of a big scale in Telugu would collect. Today, we've crossed a $20 million mark. And it's not just one film, it's multiple films that have done that. So then and with zero marketing. So it was all of the diaspora in India heard whatever, in the West heard what we do in India and kind of took that cinema. So I think it doesn't matter anymore where you're from as long as you understand culture, you understand brand. And why Loka Loka? First, I don't know, I was like, why not Loka Loka? So I think first, tequila has been, is the newer habits in the alcobev world. It's, I mean, I'm not going to advocate it like I am, but it's the healthier of the alcohols that you can drink. It's from an agave, it's from blue agave. It's a process that's very hard to do. And why we chose tequila is, actually I had a little experience when I was part of a fund where we invested in alcobev. We invested in some gin and tonic based companies. And we realized India has a strange sense of competition where when there's someone who's just made it, we'll have 8 things that look exactly the same. If the process of making it is not hard. If you just take the idea of tequila, it's geotagged to Mexico. You have to be in those highlands to make it. It's volcanic water and agave together, which make the tequila they are. And we didn't want to be rushed and pressed for time, where I think we took almost a year and a half, Harsha, myself, or
2 years,
2 years maybe. Understanding palates, I mean, like you said, we are classic whiskey, beer type drinkers, or rum drinkers in that sense. And finding palates that kind of match what is the smoothest tequila that we can make is actually, my favorite is the Reposado that we have. You are actually one of the first people outside of the team who has the Loka Loka bottles. But so yeah, and I felt like fighting in a market that is already mature. I said, let's fight with the heavyweights and we'll know what really to do. And by the time we get into India, we really want to be a global brand that's coming into India rather than the other way around. So I think it's time many more of us do this now.
No, absolutely. So Harsha, how did you sort of started working together in terms of, how you wanted to start it? I mean, as he said, Mexico is the birthplace of tequila. So how did you identify that you wanted to start from Mexico, manufacturing over there, and then selling in the US?
So if you're in the alcobev world, you already know that Dwayne Johnson, he introduced a tequila in midst of COVID, 2020 October. And his company is valued at 3.5 billion right now. It's called Terramena.
Yes.
So that was always in my mind because we all follow Dwayne Johnson. He's the rock. In our generation, he's like the Bahubali of America. So that way, I always had a thought of why not a brand which can be celebrity led and which can be introduced in India. So I was doing my OPM in Harvard. So when I was doing that in Boston, every party, every weekend, it's all about tequila. USA is drinking nothing else than tequila. So 50% of the consumption is tequila. So as Rana already mentioned, it is the healthiest of the lot. Like in the alcobev world, tequila is considered to be the healthiest one, lowest calorie. The way it is artisanal and how well they make it, it's a process. So that's all which has been impressed me a lot. And when I started discussing the idea with him, he was like, let's do that thing off. And he was the one like who also suggested that let us have music inducted into the brand. And Anirudh was the first and last choice for us. So it took us like one meeting together to convince him. He was on board immediately, and we started delegating with the brand and started understanding the palettes, and we did a lot of fun stuff, which I think he will be the right person to talk. So, and finally it took us almost a year and a half to identify through connects, going there, traveling there, almost 10 to 15 distilleries we have visited, and we shorted down to 3 of them. Then we started tasting the palettes. Then we got back to the master distillers who done the master distiller whom we have associated is a third generation into making. So it's everything we try to do it in a very specific way so that all the tick marks are there, like authentic, non-additive, 100% blue agave. So it took like almost 18 months from the day we started investing the brand out into the market. So short, this is the story.
So what was the fun stuff that he was talking about?
What is the fun stuff? Okay. All right, this is just too serious a forum. I don't know how to conduct myself sometimes in these forums. So I was like, okay, now I made a tequila. I said, so I was telling this to Anirudh. I said, okay, let's just do this. It's going to be a week. I said, if we can drink this all week, then it'll just be awesome. So I started from Dubai, and I think I was 3/4 of a bottle done before the flight took off also. When we landed in Houston, it's the first time I'm launching a tequila. I don't even know how that's done. So in India, we have so much taboo to when you hold an alcohol bottle, when you say something, but everyone's drinking. There's no problem with that. So it was just strange for me. I said, okay, I'm Indian. Can I do this? Can I hold a bottle in a club? Can I sign on a bottle? So these are all strange things. I think that was the first experience for me and Anirudh in some sense. But what was awesome was, so it was only Harsha till the time we kept tasting over these 18 months. He just kept bringing batches to India. We were circulating it in parties, getting people drunk a little bit. Okay, then it works. Doesn't work. Okay, it's hard. We need to make it smoother.
Was your birthday party?
Yeah, so I had a birthday party where everyone, half the party was kind of drunk, but then we started sipping in the tequila to see if it moves or not. So we did stuff like this for a long period of time. And the beautiful part was when we landed in Arandas, which is actually the highlands in Mexico where the tequila is made. That really was such a beautiful and a meditative and a pure process. It's a family, like Harsha said, they've been making tequila three generations. So that's all the family does. They find the best agave, make sure it's done. It was a beautiful process, really, and the fact that we could share that special memory along with people in the West, I think that was fun. And what was, Anirudh would have been a better person to speak about this, but the idea of Mexico and India, they're two ancient cultures. Both are very celebratory in their nature, and yet there's nothing that actually fuses both of us. For the matter of fact, there's not great Mexican food in India either, right? So I just feel like it's just the fact that the cultures are far, and we thought America was the best place for us to marry both these cultures. Right. It's right next door to Mexico as well. So hence it was literally an organic start. It was not planned to be that manner, but really the whole thing set in that process pretty well.
So, now I'm going to ask you everybody's Man Ki Baat, which is, when are you launching it in India?
So I'm just taking a longer estimate, but I'm saying within the 12 to 18 month period, it will be in India for sure.
Wait that.
Yeah. And the idea was we just wanted to perfect everything before we land in the country, and we just wanted to literally show the world what Indian Alcobev can do, and I think this is our start.
No, I think it's Alcobev as an industry is certainly up for, and particularly even so. While there is a lot of Alcobev movement which is happening in non-liquor, but I feel the most interesting Alcobev launches are actually happening in liquor in India. So, and Goa is really like the hotbed of every liquor launch that happens in India, and which was never the case pre-COVID, So, interestingly, it's a trend that has only come to happen post or during COVID, I would say.
I think that crazy year of pandemic somewhere reset our minds into setting our identity, setting what stories we want to tell. And usually we're in a run of creating things and creating stuff again and again. But that period, I think, was very important, where everyone kind of sat back, looked, strategized well, and things moving forward. I think all of these new fruitions of things that you see across industries have their seeds in that year of 2020.
Right. Absolutely. So, Rana, you've also believe a lot in D2C as an industry, and you've been making investments in D2C space. So, what other sectors? I mean, you've certainly identified Alcobev as one of the good sectors, but what other sectors are you gung ho about?
See, one is I'm actually not by sector, I'm by product in some manner. I think that's more how I can understand things. We've been invested in skincare, we've been invested in fashion for a while, but the largest step into retail is Broadway, and that's the next launch that you'll see on the 15th of September in some manner in Delhi. It's really like one place for all D2C brands. Like take the year of 2020 to now, I think I can say successfully India has over 200 or 250 brands that are
1,000.
over the 200 crore category, like who are doing 150 to 200 crores, all built in the last 6-7 years. And most of them don't have a retail strategy in some manner. What they also, now as the internet matures, you'll start understanding you need to make newer stories, newer content to engage. Like if you take the old world brands, they probably did 2 ad campaigns a year or 4 ad campaigns a year. Now we have to do 4 a day in some manner to keep people engaged. So Broadway is that. Broadway is the new age departmental store which caters to almost 160 to 180 brands in one store, along with food stories that's as part of it. So yes, so that's a space. We have very interesting partners. Obviously, it's Mr. Kishore Biani, his family through Think9. There is Salar Puria, and then now myself and Anna Rock. So it's retail, entertainment, and real estate somewhere coming together with that venture too. So.
And what other products? I mean,
well, Broadway kind of encompasses everything that we're doing in the D2C world. So I guess all the small investments or the big ones that we made over time will culminate in Broadway in some manner.
You've also been very invested in, because of your cinema, you've also been very invested in creating content which is probably, open to extension. So whether it's brand licensing or whether it is, IP extension. So what future do you see for animation-based content to grow in India?
For animation purely?
Animation or, I mean, just for that matter, any kind of licensing content which emerges out of cinema, whether it's a movie or whether it's a character.
See, I think we've always been, classically, we've always been a one film, one IP does well at that period of time. It's probably sold all together at once. And nobody really bothered about licensing or took that step further, right? Globally, it's been a very, very big thing. Like today, a lot of old studios survive because of the content they own. But in India, most of the studios are dead because they don't own their content no more. They've been perpetually sold either to a television network or to an independent buyer. So I think now that stage is kind of matured. And we had that chat just before getting in. Like the West, if you say, like Hollywood is one place which is in California, in Los Angeles. 80 to 90% of whatever happens in English spoken entertainment happens in that town. So the ecosystem is very connected. You have tech connecting them very fast. You have finance. You have,
it's very integrated.
Very integrated. You have several companies that are already listed and been listed for many, many years now. And also they have a 50-year to 100-year head start in cinema in some ways. India has a very strange problem. We make as much cinema as they do, but we make it from 10 different places. We are divided by language and state. Hence the industry is formed in that manner. But, I'm just taking Bahubali as a reference because somewhere that started a chain of thoughts and a way we think changed quite dramatically at that point. Where we could connect India as one country, that it doesn't matter if you make a film in Telugu, there's an audience in Delhi who will watch it. Doesn't matter if you make a film in Haryana, there's a group in Tamil Nadu that will watch it. So I think now is when we are kind of creating that one India, one cinema, one entertainment base. So I think as this structure keeps getting larger, you will see a lot of content emerge. So like, if for example, for an entrepreneur like me who is in the media world, after we made Bahubali was when we understood that we can make mythology at scale, make stories at scale. The first investment that we had was in Amar Chitrakatha, which was almost not in form for many years before we got in, and then now it's back printing comics. It has an app. It's every 15 days you have a new comic in space, and India is really a treasure trove of stuff. So we went back to classic print and classic comics, and we'll get into animation and live action very, very soon.
So I think that's again another very interesting space to watch out for as we see more Indian animation and Indian content becoming more important for brand licensing. For some of you, probably this is a completely new world, but it's actually very big overseas and therefore still a very big opportunity to maximize in India. Rana, Harsha, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been wonderful talking to you, and all the very best for the new brand.
Thank you.
We hopefully look to bring it in India soon.
Very soon, yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you guys, thank you very much.